In Amphoreus, we fight against a very unique and dangerous enemy. A faceless threat that we know next to nothing about. But that just means until everything's properly explained, it's my time to shine. In the last video, I went over how it is basically confirmed that we were a stellaron hunter and brought up a bunch of supporting evidence. Then I asked you guys if there were any other examples that I left out. And you guys in a united front cried out in one voice the exact same answer. Yes guys, I know, the blade thing. I wanted to promote discussion and I didn't expect you guys to all comment the exact same thing. Admittedly though, I guess I should have mentioned it. Oh well. Anyway, it's time to get to the real spicy theories, shall we? In this video, I'll be tackling the secrets of the mysterious black tide. The obvious answer would be, oh, the black tide is just a stellaron again for the 4th time. Also, Nanook has golden blood, he's from Amphoreus. But that's just so boring. And we don't do boring around here. Because I believe that I have cracked this case wide open with something we've already had a bit of a run-in with. As you all know, I don't believe in coincidences, nor do I believe that Hoyo does things for no reason. We ran into Rappa and we had this whole goofy slumber nana monkey story for a purpose. Because I believe that the black tide of Amphoreus is a memetic virus. Yes, this subplot will be making a return in Amphoreus and I'm going to tell you why. So strap in, this is gonna be a wild ride, but I hope you can keep up. So let's start from the beginning, shall we? Because Black Swan has been acting suspicious. Even more suspicious than her usual memo keeper self. Because at first, Amphoreus wasn't even on our agenda at all. It was her suggestion that she made after eavesdropping and joining our private conversation. Now, you could just take this as her just being nosy, but I don't think so. Because you can just simply ask her why she wants to go and she replies,
"It's my duty to salvage unknown memories. And the Amphoreus that has been revealed by the garden's mirror is like a treasure inside a display case. Dazzling, yet out of reach. I need a sharp nail to break through that glass. And that's where you come in."
Isn't that a bit of a dodgy answer? I mean, she's a memo keeper capable of slipping in and out of wherever she really wants to go. She doesn't necessarily have a physical body, and she can even get on and off the express without being detected. She even managed to escape Sunday's giant dream domain. The only time we've ever seen a memo keeper get caught or captured was by Herta, and Herta is, well, she's a special case, isn't she? So what does Black Swan stay behind for if there are so many tantalizing memories just waiting to be collected by a memo keeper? Well, in truth, I left out a key detail just now. Because we have seen another memo keeper get captured and even threatened into submission. And this was Mr. Rekka. And it just so happens that Mr. Rekka was infected by Professor Preeman's memetic virus. A virus that he himself refers to as lethal. So Professor Preeman was using a virus as a means of pretty much holding Mr. Rekka at gunpoint. This is why Mr. Rekka intervened to allow Professor Preeman to escape. And it just so happens that after being the one to suggest the trip, Black Swan volunteers to stay behind to look after March 7th. Now, you could take this as her just being compassionate, or you can realize that, again, she's a memo keeper capable of going basically wherever she wants, within a certain range, I'm assuming. So why can't she just go from Amphoreus to the ship and back again? She doesn't need to breathe. She's clearly traversed through space before. It sure would be helpful since we and Dan Heng are currently lost with no way of contacting our ship. If only we had a person who can just go to places as she pleases undetected and relay messages, someone who has all the incentive in the world to be doing so. Oh right, we do. But she hasn't made a single attempt to try and come and find us. Also, wasn't she supposed to be looking after March 7th? How was Himiko the one that found her frozen like this? Black Swan is still on the ship. We can go and see her. You know, maybe she's just taking turns with Himiko looking after March. But that's besides the point. Point is, Black Swan has guided us to Amphoreus, but is clearly avoiding it. Could it be that this world of untapped memories is a danger to Black Swan? Could it be that this black tide is a memetic virus? Well, let's look into what a memetic virus is then. Put simply, a memetic virus is, well, brain rot, but more serious and more dangerous. Think of it as instead of you just saying you're a Rizmaxing Sigma with infinite aura mewing on betas, that's actually your life. You actually see the world through the lens of brain rot. Like Rappa. You do Naruto hand signs under your desk in class, but Rappa actually thinks she's Hokage and her eyes perceive the world through Sharingan. She's permanently under Genjutsu. Now, it's all fun and games for Rappa in particular because even though she's literally schizophrenic, it's not exactly harmful. Because a human with a memetic virus only affects their perception and their memories. But on a memetic entity, it could literally become their entire being. Because memories are all they are. You see how this can be lethal to them now?
But Nova, how does this lead to the black tide?
You see, it's the way the black tide is explained. Listen closely.
And from beyond the sky came the heretical black tide. Its gloom was darker than death itself, driving the Titans to madness.
Stop right there. So the black tide is causing madness. Well, it just so happens that right before Mr. Rekka explains his condition, he starts tweaking out. Now, this could just be Mr. Rekka being strange because he's quite the eccentric guy, but this is the only time he gets this wild. At all other times in the story, he's pretty reserved. I mean, he even gets really hyped up at the ending too, but this is a far cry from what he's doing here. Man is on his knees for no reason. Dan Heng asks him about this later, and he doesn't give him a straightforward answer, and which makes sense to me because I wouldn't either. But just in case Mr. Rekka isn't a proper example, because it sure wasn't for these guys in the shorts comment section, Rappa is quite literally out of her mind. She's suffering symptoms of what can easily be classified as madness. Her condition is just relatively benign. Imagine if what she saw instead of a ninja world was an endless horror house, where she just sees every living being around her as an enemy. Now that I think about it, maybe Ashikai's onto something. The anti-organic equation actually is a memetic virus when you put it that way. Oh wow, we actually agree on this. Great minds think alike. But Rappa's condition aside, Amphoreus isn't so lucky, because the black tide is eating away at the world, spreading madness. But Nova, you say, how can the land be affected by a memetic virus? Well, this entire nation is only accessible through the Garden of Recollection's mirrors, so this world is very much intertwined with memories. We even perform miracles that allow us to access the past from the present. My other theory, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, is the Amphoreus doesn't exist theory, where the entire nation destroyed itself and exists only in memory. But Fu Li is currently keeping it in a limbo state by recreating it through memories. And even though this world keeps dying, it also keeps restarting. That's why it's an eternal land and why it's also shaped like an infinity sign, because it's stuck in a time loop. It has a past, but no future. But just in case you don't believe that theory, you can't deny that this entire world is at the very least intertwined with memories. And if that's the case, then it makes perfect sense that a memetic virus can infect the very land itself. But that's also why we can purify it and the land returns to normal, because just like in Penacony when people got cured, they turned back into humans. I also think that this is why Aglaya's golden threads can dispel the black tide to a certain extent, because they can detect truth and separate truth from lies, or delusions in this case. And as a memetic virus, twisting perception is simply your senses lying to you. Aglaya shines truth on the lies and dispels the virus. You can look at the black tide from a multitude of different angles. Even the fact that the black tide is a faceless enemy lines up, because a virus scientifically is not even considered alive. It doesn't have a motive, it just spreads and infects. Everything lines up. Black Swan's avoidance of Amphoreus, the known activity of the black tide, even the symptoms of corruption all point towards one thing. The black tide is a memetic virus, and Black Swan led us here in hopes that we can cure it. Otherwise, what's stopping her from going to Amphoreus herself? Again, Memo Keepers kinda just go wherever they want. And she knew exactly where it was too. Nothing stands in her way, so why would she need us? Because there is something on Amphoreus that is lethal to her. Something that is so dangerous that no matter how alluring these memories may be, she finds other things to conveniently do that take her away from it. Part of me thinks these memories aren't just uncollected and all this was just a ruse for the Astral Express to cure the memetic virus plaguing the Garden of Recollection. Wouldn't be the first time we got duped into solving other people's problems. And that is why I believe the Black Tide is a memetic virus. Okay, so it seems like the Stellaron Hunter theory wasn't spicy enough for you guys, so you know I had to turn it up to 10 for this one. I just think it's too much of a coincidence for us to have this isolated Rappa story bring up a whole new thing, then it just not be relevant in the future. Just feels satisfying for everything to fit together, no? Though as of right now, I'm not exactly sure how we're gonna beat it. Or am I? Remembrance Pen, writing a new ending for the story of Amphoreus, writing a song of victory, giving life to a new world, the Paean of Era Nova? What do you guys think? Be sure to let me know, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace, y'all.